There are 36 volumes. I don't know how many people listening are familiar with the divine will, but it's beautiful. It changes your life. It's
Yeah.
like, the way Adam and Eve lived before the fall, and our Lord's trying to bring us back to that. And it's all about loving God, God loving us, and us loving Him back. It's just teaching you who God is, His divinity, His humanity. But actually, the New Testament is about His divinity. This brings you into His divinity. Who is God? How much He loves us, His great mercy, His great love, and He wants us to call Him into all of our activities. He's a loving God. He's a gentleman. He won't come unless you invite Him. And he loves us, each person, so much. He wants to relive his life in us. So that's what the divine will is all about, is just everything you do, we learn throughout the day to realize the presence of the divine indwelling, the Trinity that dwells within us. We can't do anything without him. We can't even breathe without him. Everything we do is the divine will keeping us alive, giving us all these gifts of every breath that we breathe. Every a breath of air is a gift from God. Um, every heartbeat of our hearts is a gift from God. It keeps us alive. Are we grateful for those gifts? So the divine will too is also teaching us how to be grateful for all of his
Mhm.
gifts.
Yes.
He told Louisa he wants us to do acts and rounds in the divine will. Around in the divine will as we go around through all of creation, all of redemption, all that he did in redemption, and all that he did in his divinity. He wants us to put our I love yous on everything, all of these gifts, every bird, every flower. He told Louise, he says, if you have a desire to put an I love you on every leaf on every tree, you don't have to go with a pen to do it. The desire of your heart makes it a reality. He sees an I love you from you on every leaf and every tree. And when you invite Jesus to put those I love yous on these things from you, it becomes a divine I love you. Everything he does is divine. It has no beginning, no end. Every divine act has no beginning, no end. Whereas every human act has a beginning and an end. So when you say, Jesus, you put this I love you on this, whatever it is, every blade of grass, every bird, every flower, every fruit, every vegetable, that I love you shouts out to the eternal Father from all eternity, from you, I love you, God, I love you, God, I love you, God. It will never end. Now, if I did that humanly, it would end. That I love you would be one I love you on every leaf, on every tree, but it wouldn't be continual. It's a continual. Everything God does is continual. It never ends. And then when he wants us to do acts in his divine will, meaning you're cooking, you say, Jesus, come cook in my cooking. And if you really believe it, he says, in order to really make these acts very profound and very powerful, you need to read the writings so that you can have deep faith that he is doing all of these things in and through you. And the more you call him into all your activities, and the more you really believe that he's doing these activities within you, the more you shrink, the littler you get, the more you die to yourself, and you begin to realize your nothingness and that he's everything. And so the more you shrink, the more space there is for God within you. And then you begin to take on his attributes, his virtues. You become more like God. St. Thomas Aquinas said, we're to become like little gods. We take on his everything that God is. He said, Jesus said, be perfect as my Father is perfect. He wouldn't do something that's impossible, tell us to do something that's impossible. So it is possible to become perfect as our Father is perfect. And how do we do that? By living in his divine will. Calling him into everything we do, realizing his presence within. We forget the Trinity dwells in our souls. From baptism, the Trinity began to dwell in our souls. It's a special grace and gift to have that realization. We can know it intellectually, but to come to realize it. When Pope John Paul II canonized St. Elizabeth of the Trinity, he called her the saint of the interior life because she had that special grace to realize the divine indwelling. She was always within herself with God. And Brother Lawrence, The Practice of the Presence of God, is another great book that you can read, that he had the special grace too, to realize the divine indwelling, realize the presence of the Trinity dwelling in his soul. So that's what the divine will is all about. But as you read these beautiful truths, they transform your life. They make you fall in love with Jesus more and more. You begin to realize how much he loves you and how merciful he is and how he just longs for us to come to him. He wants us to live in his divine will more than we want it, you know.
Mm.
So that's really what it's all about. Basically, there's all kinds of. I mean, you can get the volumes on the internet. You can buy them. There's a block printing in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania, that sells them. Um, you can download them on your phone or whatever, And I was at a meeting with a bishop in Karacho some years back, and he promoted everyone to read all the volumes that are out there. And he said that. He said they're all over the internet. They're everywhere. He says you can share them with friends, you can print them and give them to friends, but he just asked that we don't publish them. He just said just don't publish them, but you can spread it around and read it yourself. So it's a great gift, and it's too much of a beautiful gift to bypass it. God has given us this time in history to read these books. Most people are literate these days. If we would have gotten it centuries back, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to read. But now we can. And even people that are blind, you can listen to them on the internet. They
Yes,
have the
I was gonna
audios
say, there's
too.
so many audios of
Yeah,
the
it's all
volumes.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.